Hi everyone. I wanted to talk about Netflix series Tiger King and the issue with captive animals within the United States. I'm sure most, if not all of you, have seen or at least heard of Netflix series Tiger King, and there's kind of a lot of drama and issues that go on just personal with Joe Exotic and all of that, but I really just want to focus on the animals that he owned and lawsuits and settlements that kind of happened with his zoo. So, just a little timeline on Joe Exotic. So, in 1986, he opened his first pet store in Texas, and this is where he discovered his love for exotic animals. In 1999, he ended up selling that pet store and moved to a farm in Oklahoma where he opened up his own park, which was basically just a zoo. In 2000, well, from 1999 to 2000, they gained hundreds of big cats from lions, pumas, tigers, anything that you would consider a big cat, they had. Um, After 2000, Joe started to take tours with his animals around the United States, and that's when a lot of accusations really began to come into play because the conditions these animals were in when they were traveling was not good at all. So the first real accusation that Joe faced was in 2004 from Big Cat Rescue, which we'll also talk about in just a second. And this had to do with the animals when they were on tour and the containers they were kept in and their food, water, all of that. So an actual lawsuit started between Joe and Big Cat Rescue in 2011. Joe ended up losing that and had to pay Big Cat Rescue $1 million and also agreed to no longer breed his big cats or allow visitors to pet the cubs. In 2015, Joe ended up transferring his park to one of his friends in hopes that that would kind of protect his assets, as he could tell that things were about to go downhill a bit further and he was worried he would lose his park. So, after a bunch of court battles in 2018, Joe was charged with 8 counts of illegal animal trade and 9 violations of the Endangered Species Act, as well as other charges that I just don't think are relevant. But he is now serving 22 years in prison in Oklahoma for primarily the treatment of his animals. And then so the park remained open and was still open until 2020 when the government made them shut down. And then in 2021, all of the animals that were in that park were then moved to a sanctuary in Colorado. And so, just a little bit of background on captive animals, some facts. Over 5,000 tigers are estimated to be captive in the United States, and that includes both pets, private ownership, zoos, anything that's not specifically for conservation is considered just captive. And so out in the wild, there's only estimated 4,000 tigers that are freely roaming. So there are more captive tigers in the United States alone than there are in the wild throughout the rest of the world. Focusing more on states, Alabama, Nevada, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Delaware, and Oklahoma all have little to no laws that prevent individuals from owning big cats as pets. After these states, 21 states have a ban on dangerous exotic animals, but there are loopholes you can go through, and you can still own exotic pets as long as they are not deemed dangerous. And then in 35 states, big cats are banned as pets, but that still leaves, 15 states that you can kind of just do whatever you want with. So it is kind of an issue that a lot of states don't have a lot of legislation on. So a lot of people are looking into owning all of these animals as pets when they really shouldn't be. So the negative implications of big cats being kept in captivity. So most of the time, the enclosures are way too small. When big cats are out in the wild, they're always roaming and finding new spots and just they're always kind of moving around. Where typically when we see these documentaries and such come out, these big cats are in these tiny enclosures that aren't even, half a mile long. They're these sometimes just little box cages that they keep them in. So the tigers really don't have a chance to run around and to roam. Climate differences are obviously an issue. If you were to take a tiger that's used to being in a desert or such and you bring it to, New York, it's not its initial climate, and it's not going to adapt very well to that, and it's going to be a struggle and really is not good for the big cats. A lot of places declaw big cats, which is an issue that just in general is viewed cruel when it comes to all animals. A lot of the times, these animals aren't getting fed properly. They're either getting fed too much, too little, or don't have enough variety, which can lead to nutritional deficiencies. The cubs are also typically prematurely taken from their mother and brought out for visitors to pet and to play with. And then there's also the issue of illegal animal sales and then killing animals for black market sales and their fur and everything like that. So, what can we do to kind of help stop animals from being captive in the US? So, you can visit sanctuaries instead of zoos. These are typically places that are specific to kind of rehabilitating animals, and most of the time, they kind of build up the population and then release them into the wild. They don't just keep these animals their whole life. You can also donate to organizations that work to prevent the capture of exotic animals. You can protest or contact state or federal officials and just kind of voice your opinions and how you're feeling about legislation. Also, you can research and educate yourself, your friends, your family, anybody who wants to listen to you. You can talk about, why this is a bad thing. And then also, everybody's been to a zoo, and I'm sure, hopefully, nobody has, but I'm sure there have been some people who have seen some mistreatment. And so you also want to report zoos or organizations who are neglecting their animals so that they don't keep continuing this cycle of neglect. So, one of the organizations that focuses on preventing the captivity of big cats is Panthera. They are the only organization that primarily focuses on big cats and also small cats, but that's kind of a side mission of theirs. So, I've talked about big cats a lot, and those include cheetahs, leopards, jaguars, lions, pumas, snow leopards, and tigers. Their staff is over 100 different researchers, scientists, wildlife conservators, and just a lot of staff that are highly educated in their field and are genuinely there to provide the best life that they can for these big cats and also keeping them in the wild. The CEO himself has came out with a statement that said, he is all for rehabilitating these animals and getting them back to health and restoring them so they're not endangered anymore, but he also thinks they should be kept in their natural habitat. So this organization also works with over 47 different countries to protect the capture of big cats, and they are spread out over 4 different continents. So they're a great organization to look into if you are looking to do more to help prevent the captivity of big cats. And so here's a list of my references.